Welcome to our education series at Asian Community Development Council.
I'm Stewart Chang. I'm a professor of law at William S. Boyd School of Law at the University of Nevada in Las Vegas. Before that, I practiced immigration law and family law for 10 years at the Asian Pacific American Legal Center in Los Angeles, which is now known as Asian Americans Advancing Justice Los Angeles.
Nice.
And hi, my name is Antu, and I help run the citizenship program here at ACDC. And I also help with the food assistant program.
With the naturalization process, if you do biometrics, do you have to pay for it?
Yes, biometric is usually a $85 fee.
Do you also get that very often where people need help for the fee?
Yeah, so we look at the tax income to see where their family, how much they make and how many families, depend on the household. And then we go by the property guideline and apply for a fee waiver. If they, still low but a little bit higher than that, we can apply for a reduced fee, which is 50% off.
I had only had a part-time job last year, so I was making only $12,000 a year, and I was able to apply for the application fee, the waiver. So it was pretty cool. But other than fee-wise, what are the other issues that people who want to apply for naturalization process usually get?
I believe that you mentioned both of you probably went through this process. So there's two ways in which you can actually become a green card holder. So to immigrate to the United States, you are applying for what is called an immigrant legal permanent resident status. And usually you could do that one of two ways. So there are ways in which you can do that while you're outside of the country, and there's also ways in which you can do that when you're inside of the country. If you're outside of the country, what has to happen first is you have to have a sponsor. By and large, the two major ways in which you can come to the United States is as an employee that is sponsored by an employer, or as a family member. And a good deal of the Asian American community has come because of family members who are already in the United States. Now, how that usually works is that you file what is called a I-130, a petition for an alien relative, and then if they're outside of the country, there may be a waiting period depending on what their relationship is with you. Immediate relatives have what are called immediate visas that are available, so there really is no waiting period apart from the wait that it takes to process, which right now in Las Vegas for green cards, it's probably between 1 and 2 years to actual process. However, if it's a different family relationship, such as a brother or sister, it depends on one, which country you're coming from, two, what relationship. So for instance, if you're you're sponsoring over a brother from the Philippines, you're a United States citizen, right now they are processing June of 2002, which means that this is a 19-year wait on top of the processing time. So if you're sponsoring over, let's say, your brother from the Philippines, then you're looking at 21 years before they actually get a green card. So that's if they're outside of the country. If you have a relative inside the country, you would be applying for the I-130, the immediate relative petition, but also an adjustment of status. So that means that they're adjusting status here inside the United States from basically either a non-immigrant visa or some other status to a legal permanent resident. And that's where, again, your priority date has to be up, and there has to be a visa available, but you are able then to adjust status here in the United States.
Oh, that is such a long time, though, for 21 years to wait for a sibling of yours that's outside the country to come here. I didn't know that. That's appalling.
What is the most common mistake that people make when they apply for immigration that could cost them to maybe not get their green card or draw the waiting period much longer than it needs to be?
The biggest issue is inadmissibility issues. So there's a whole range of things that will make you what is called inadmissible. The most common one is conviction of certain crimes.
If you get a ticket, you have to write it down, and you have to inform them that you have a ticket or a citation.
Prior to being able to be sponsored to the United States, if you're a family-based petition, you have to have a relative or a sponsor. You're agreeing with the U.S. government to support however many of the relatives that you're sponsoring over, plus your own family, at above 150% of federal poverty. The others are things like crimes and such. Public health grounds is not usually going to be that big of an issue. But there are there's also what is called unlawful presence as well. So those are some of the problems when you're applying for a green card, that might occur.
the common mistake that people get the application rejected back is no signature. They forgot to sign the application, or they did not submit the correct fee. When it comes to an interview, the officer will look at the application and see if this person is being honest.
And two, I want to touch on especially people in the API community who are applying for citizenship. What do you think is their greatest barrier? Because I know that you help hundreds of clients at this point in that specific community.
Yeah, so the language barrier is I think that's the one of the biggest challenge that they have. But fortunately, we have 5 different languages at ACDC that could help them, translate and go through that process. So we make it easier for the client to come and go through the process.
And this is not a service that you could just get anywhere, right? When you're playing for N400, do they, let's say you live in the middle of nowhere and there is no organization like ACDC, what would you have to, what would you do to, and let's say you don't have any family or friends who would translate for you, what would you do?
Well, so the limited English speaking ability actually offers another barrier for naturalization because you also have to pass an English portion of the naturalization interview.
Right.
I do believe that ACDC, don't you also tour, not
Yeah,
tour, but...
we go to different, Caesar Entertainment, the casino, and we help people there in different locations. We also went up to Reno, Lake Tahoe, and helped the citizenship employee up there as well.
Oh. So we kind of do an outreach, for other areas in here in Nevada. That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Each quarter, we try to have at least 1 or 2 workshops so people can come and do it on one-day workshop. So we have our attorney available for anyone to ask any question that they might have.
Do you think that having limited English accessibility makes people not want to apply? Or nervous about applying?
I have helped one client that has been in the United States for 40 years. And all she does is go to work and, trying to make money, to make a living, survive. And she never think about, become a U.S. citizen because she doesn't know how to write or read. So she met a really good friend, and they've been together for a long time. And he brought her to us, and I was able to help her. And she passed the citizenship interview, even though she's so scared. But we were so proud of her that she was able to pass that last year. And they were really grateful because she was crying because, I don't know how to read, I don't know how to write. They're gonna judge me and all that. So I try to, go through it with her. So
it's such a feel-good story. It's
Right.
Inspirational almost.
We also have a website that you can pre-apply. You can pre-apply there, and then our staff will look over and set an appointment, call you in, and then we can go through the application and help you submit the application.
Right. So that one of the good things about pre-applying is that if there's any mistakes, once ACDC looks through their application, they can see, oh, this is a mistake. For example, I didn't know I had 3 multiple names because my green card was missing a letter. My my license had my full name, but my green card didn't, missing 2 letters. And I was told when I got here that, oh, that's fine, it's okay, we ran out of space to put. And then I didn't know that I was supposed to declare that. I just declared my real full name. So luckily Auntie was able to notice that. So that was one of the really great things that ACDC was able to help out.
They are very thorough. I remember when I was doing my citizenship with Antu that at the last minute I was like, wait a minute, I remember I had a job in between this time for about a month. And then we had to go back and redo all that.
Okay.
So I became U.S. citizen when my parents passed the interview test when I was 14 or 15.
Oh, wow.
Oh, it automatically does it to you if you're under 18?
No,
Yes.
so you have to be in the custody of the person,
Right.
The legal custody of the person, and then you have to be a minor.
Oh, okay.
So our family came over to the United States as a refugee in the early 90s, end of 92, and my parents passed the citizenship interview 5 years after, and all of our siblings were able to become a U.S. citizen with them. You have to file a different form Because if you are under 18, you will qualify for the naturalization certificate instead of going through the whole process.
Oh, okay. On the other hand, my mom became a citizen during like COVID, so I don't know how the process was like for her. And I told because she applied for citizenship like after 5 years of being here, and because I got here in 2016 and I was like 16, 17 years old. And I was hoping that she was going to apply for citizenship like before I turned 18 because of how easier the process was, but she didn't because of like financial issues and priorities, right? So so that's why I'm applying like right now, because I personally wanted to, and then I'm pretty sure I applied through my mom too. So kind of like that. But we also got a sponsorship, I believe, because my mom got married here, and we got a sponsorship, I believe, from her husband, her ex-husband. And then I personally didn't know the process. I was so excited. I was like, oh my God, my last name is Stewart now. And then it wasn't, unfortunately, because it doesn't work like that. And then I was a kid. I didn't know the process. So but I was very excited when I got here. So that was like my citizenship process and stuff.
My citizenship process was pretty average, I would say. My mom, on the other hand, she had quite an interesting process, and she didn't speak English very well at the time at all. She just moved here from China. She actually spoke no English. So when she went to immigration, and I guess she got a really shady immigration attorney, and he was like, oh, if you just sign here, then you're free to go and you'll keep your status. She couldn't read the document. She didn't realize what was happening. She signed it, and afterwards, apparently they somehow think that they caught her in a lie, because in the English form, apparently it says you've never been married before, but she married someone when she came to the United States, and she couldn't read it. So he just said, sign it, you can go. So she signed it, and she went, and she actually wasn't able to go back to China for like 10 years because of it. She wasn't able to go back for 10 years, and she missed her mom passing away. Her mom was like really sick. That her immigration process dragged long for like 10 years before we finally got her green card, even though she was already married to my dad. And they had to go as far as hiring like the attorney who helped Obama take his family from like to the United States. So it was a lot that her process was very difficult. That's why I really like strongly push that, like, if you don't speak any English, don't sign anything.
Accessibility
wise, don't sign anything.
right.
But I feel like at that point it was the wrong thing to not have an interpreter there for her to explain in detail what the contract was.
So that's one thing that you always have to watch out for. These notario services that are promising you green cards. Again, the only really avenues that you can get a green card is through sponsorship through a family member, a sponsorship through employment, some humanitarian ones which are very narrow, like asylum, Violence Against Women's Act, temporary protected status, so on and so forth. But that's why I think, especially in our limited English proficient communities, we have to really make an effort to crack down on these exploitative businesses.
It was a lot of information, and I'm pretty sure it was very helpful for everyone here and for our future viewers.
Yeah,
Thank you for
So
coming.
informative.
Thank you for having me.